In Monster Hunter, they always love to change anything and everything with each release, whether that comes to how the weapon is used to how the monster moves. Like a cursed Diablos fly in the air for 3 straight minutes.
I have never seen that thing fly.
It's really interesting to see these changes, especially for Kinsects. Since starting with Monster Hunter World, where the Kinsect portion of the game were pretty straightforward, it was fun to go back to where it started with Monster Hunter 4 and how the system worked. In this video, I'll be discussing the evolution of Kinsects in each title it was in, and the changes it went through in each title for Monster Hunter 4, Generations Ultimate, World, and Iceborne, and finally, Monster Hunter Rise. Hello everyone, my name is SkojSkull, and welcome your faces to a brand new video. Before we get into talking about the changes to Kinsects, I just want to go over what it is in general. So in Monster Hunter, there were many weapons that were introduced over time, and in this case, the Insect Glaive was introduced in Monster Hunter 4, which made big changes to how the hunts worked, especially with the mounting mechanic introduced. We also have our little partner in crime, or big partner depending on how you look at it, that helps us around by grabbing different extracts from the monster, like the red buff that gives you attack up, the orange buff that gives you defense up, and then the white that gives you speed up. We also have the green buff that gives you a tiny bit of healing. These extracts are also placed around the monster in a way where red can be grabbed by the face or where most of the attacks are coming from, like Glaive's tail. In Monster Hunter, there are many different Kinsects to choose from and use to upgrade. Over time with the different releases of Monster Hunter games, there have been changes on how you would upgrade each Kinsect and what they become. Monster Hunter 4 and 4 Ultimate. Birth of the Insect Glaive. When Monster Hunter 4 came out, it was also the time that the new weapon, the Insect Glaive, got introduced. In order to upgrade the Kinsect, you need to find these items, the jellies or nectar. With these, you can use them to upgrade your Kinsect, and depending on the jellies you feed the Kinsect, it can upgrade to different versions. With the upgrading system, it's definitely a guessing game with what you will get when you use different jellies to get the best possible Kinsects that you would want. Another thing that wasn't the best in Monster Hunter 4 was when you definitely had to be careful when upgrading them, because once you start upgrading, this Kinsect is locked with your weapon. If you want to use a different Kinsect for that particular weapon, then good luck. You have to make a separate weapon with that Kinsect. The Kinsect was something amazing and unique compared to the other weapons on the roster. It's the first time that there was a living companion as part of the weapon, let alone has its own separate upgrading system that definitely affects how you hunt. There are also points where in order to upgrade your Insect Glaive, you had to upgrade your Kinsect, which became a very tedious weapon to go and upgrade, especially in the early game. Even if you had all the materials you need to upgrade your Glaive, you needed to upgrade your Kinsect first. Even through all this, however, Insect Glaive was actually considered broken in 4 Ultimate due to the mounting mechanic and the buffing system. Monster Hunter Generations and Generations Ultimate. After 4 Ultimate, people were eager to pick up the Insect Glaive again, especially with how it played in the previous title. It was brought back again in Monster Hunter Generations, and later in Generations Ultimate, but people spotted how some changes were made to the weapon. Instead of Kinsects having to be made for each glaive and stuck to it, you can now swap any Kinsect to any glaive, excluding certain event weapons of course. Along with the game's fundamental change for the different styles you could choose from, Insect Glaive was almost unrecognizable, save for the vault move and the agility that came with the stick. Each style changed the glaive quite a bit, but most hunters, not all, would stick to 2 styles, aerial style or valor style. Each style in the game gives the weapon some advantages and disadvantages, but most seem to stick to these 2 styles, as it only seems to boost the potential for the Insect Glaive and the Kinsect altogether. While aerial style doesn't really change how the Kinsect is controlled, valor style actually changes a lot how you play the Insect Glaive. Valor style normally has disadvantages of your weapon starting out weaker than the guild style of any weapon, but the Insect Glaive, it doesn't seem like you lose a lot outside of valor mode, with just the vault being knocked behind your valor sheath. When you get into valor mode, however, that's when the fun begins. When you attack the monster, your Kinsect actually attacks alongside you. This hadn't been seen in games yet, as the Kinsect was mainly seen as just something you boost out every now and then. When your boost runs out, a pair alongside with a hunter art Bug Major, however you pronounce that. Which, when your bug shoots forward, it can do extra damage in every flashy way, and can even use this cutting or stun ability to either cut off the tail or knock out the monster. Upgrading the Kinsects has changed a lot in the game as well. Like mentioned briefly, Kinsects aren't bound to the weapon now, and so you don't have to be worried about upgrading multiple Kinsects like before. However, it's still got a confusing system on how to upgrade the Kinsects, and it sometimes requires very interesting material to upgrade your Kinsects like... fish? Are we feeding our bugs fish? Something that someone complained about is how annoying it can get to get the feed for the Kinsects. They brought back elemental damage for the Kinsect, but they changed it from for you. So instead of element damage being tied in with the power, speed, and heavy abilities, it now has its own separate status. Getting extra can be a bit random as well. As before, you unlock trading and it's only found in the wild, but the places where it can be grabbed aren't obvious. This is a massive problem people had with Kinsects before, as nothing was obvious and clear for the player and made Kinsects much more complicated than necessary, which fortunately seemed to get mostly fixed in World. Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. Monster Hunter World was where it made a huge jump in terms of how Kinsects work. Especially for the upgrade system is a lot different, which became my personal favorite. Compared to the previous releases, the upgrading system was a major step up to make it easy to follow for people to utilize in their hunts. Like the weapons in World, where it had an upgrade tree, they also had it for Kinsects. It showcased everything that the Kinsect could do in that tree for each Kinsect. It was a great way to figure out how you would want your Kinsect exactly and not have to guess on how to upgrade it. Even if this is my first Monster Hunter game for me personally, it was probably the best version of upgrading Kinsects. I could understand that it felt like you were putting in more work and trying to figure out what's the best way to make your perfect Kinsects from the previous releases, where you would put different extracts to get the Kinsect that you would want. It just felt like it was tedious to go through, where in World it was very straightforward. You get what you get. If you want the fastest Kinsect, you can go through the tree and find the fastest speed. More attack, look for the Kinsect that does the most damage than the rest, and so on. It makes things more accessible and allows people to try all the possibilities in World, where in the previous releases, you felt more trapped in figuring out what works and what you would get while wasting extract. There are also more moves for the Kinsects as well. For example, when you go in for a dive attack with the insect glaive, the Kinsect would follow suit, dealing quite a bit of damage itself. Along with this, each Kinsect has its type of powder attack, which when struck with a weapon, could deal status or damage. Some Kinsects could even provide healing powder. With the upgrading system, Kinsects are definitely treated more as a weapon now. In Iceborne, there was something new that was introduced where you could feed your Kinsect to get double extract. When you feed the Kinsect slinger ammo in the game, you go into this animation spinning around a Kinsect, which makes it so then you can grab 2 extracts at once before recalling it to your hunter. It was a really cool addition that was added, but it was definitely something I felt wasn't really needed for Monster Hunter, but I'm assuming they were trying to take down the time it takes for people to actually acquire the extracts when hunting, so they don't continuously grab extracts instead of attacking the monster, which I could definitely relate to in my hunts. Monster Hunter Rise. So remember how World simplified the upgrading process and everything? Well, Rise went further to a point where there is none. Instead of upgrading the Kinsect itself, Kinsect now work in a way where they're all to be bought, and their level is based on the level of your glaive instead. It certainly changes things, and a lot of people were disappointed at this. And in a way, I agree. It takes the enjoyment out of the bug, and while the Kinsect started to feel more alive in World, now it feels like a gadget stuck on my arm that I occasionally use. It's not like they're useless, however, as each bug comes with its own special skill. Some have double extract, which can always grab red along with another color sometimes, and some have an assist skill, which will have the Kinsect attack at the same time as the hunter. They all have their own speed and strength, but there's definitely a lot less customization. And the elemental damage for the Kinsect had been completely trashed. I don't necessarily find that a bad thing, as it seemed to be a constant overlooked feature, but even still. Insects are basic now, it almost feels forgetful. While the farming for jellies was a pain in the previous games, at least it gave a goal in a way and made Kinsects feel more personal. There's no longer any variety, regardless of all the new Kinsects and their distinct features. Kinsects have gone through so many changes over the years. Some good changes and some questionable changes. It's really fun to see how it evolved from where it started in Monster Hunter 4 to where it is now in Monster Hunter Rise. The most dramatic change was when it came to World from what it used to be. There is no longer a need to feed the Kinsect in order to upgrade it, and now we just need materials to upgrade it to the next rank. Then with Rise, as we have said, it felt it was done in a more lazy manner, where you would have to purchase a new Kinsect and you are set. I'm really curious to see where Monster will be with the Kinsects in later releases. They might go back to the old style of upgrading, or just continue to what they have now. We'll see. With that, thank you all so much for watching. If you all enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe if you are new. Also, let us know what generation was your favorite version of the Kinsects. Also, if you want to support the channel even further and see more videos like this one, consider supporting me on Patreon. I love all of your faces, and we shall see you all in the next video.